I am so unfamous that a very few people on this planet probably know who I am at all. I probably am as well known for these podcasts that I generate as anything, and I'm here to tell you that at this point I'm not particularly well known for these podcasts. I wanted to talk today, though, on a concept that I think is important to consider, and it is the concept of transcendent fame. So that's what we're going to discuss on today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Tuesday, the 1st of February of 2022. Glad to have everyone along, whether it's on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on Minds.com, on my Facebook page, on Locals, on Parler, or wherever it happens to be. Happy to have you along today. Hope that you enjoy what I put out there. As usual, that's what I'm aiming for, obviously, is to put out something that you will find worth your time in having looked in on what I had to say. Today, again, we're going to talk on the subject of transcendent fame, and as usual, I'm going to go ahead and go through my notes to give you an idea sort of where I'm coming from. There are people out there who are just so famous, nobody's even considering whether they're black, white, Asian, or whatever. Okay, I grant most folks know Bill Cosby is black. But how many consider it important or really know that Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, is Samoan, as far as I know? Do people really care where Jason Momoa is from? Do they really care? I don't think most of them do, I'll just tell you that. I want to turn this to another important non-fictional, and rest assured, he is not fictional character. I want to take a moment to talk about Jesus Christ. All facts point to the idea that Jesus was / is, depending on how you look at all of that, a Jew. That said, for the most part, I have a question. Should anybody care? Jesus is Jesus, and all who believe on him can be said to, quote, own and be owned by him. Does it really matter that he's a Jew? I would argue that in most senses it honestly doesn't. It's certainly fair to say that stories of his time on earth make it pretty obvious that's the case, that is, that he's a Jew. You could also make the argument that to understand certain of the things he said or was involved in, it's helpful to understand that it was true as well, that he was a Jew. Right? I understand there's a tendency to couch Jews as white, end of quote. I think it to be a massively vast mischaracterization when people do that. What I understand about the Jews is that they're olive skinned. Not all of them, by the way. They were Ethiopian Jews, so they would have been what would have been considered black Jews, right? Essentially people of the Middle East. And that's, you can say Northern Africa too, maybe, I don't know, but certainly the Middle East, right? But can I tell you a secret? It would be hard for me to care less in terms of his ethnicity from that perspective. In my mind, who Jesus was physically, and maybe still is, not sure how all that works, to be honest with you, isn't totally of no consequence, but very nearly so. I have no problem with the idea of a black or Indian boss. Have been there before, many years ago, right up to the current day. Even less so what Jesus is or was in terms of race aside, the one thing we can certainly say is Christians can and should count him king. This, in my mind, is the ultimate example of transcendent fame. Jackie Robinson, Clarence Thomas, Oprah Winfrey, even if I don't care for her, Barack Obama, so many others, Nikola Tesla, right, who was not a, quote, white man in what a lot of people would have termed that. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So many people. How many people know Alexander Graham Bell was Scottish? How many people know or care? How many know or care? So many people out there are sufficiently famous that their fame transcends nationality, race, even in many instances religion. It's just something that you need to understand. Certain others are known for their religion or whatever, but they're not, again, they transcend that in terms, they transcend things like race in terms of who they are. And again, my perfect example of that would be Jesus. Jesus is an excellent example of transcendent faith. And this is something that I think people need to realize. We're coming to a time in the world where the fact that you're Hawaiian, that you're Indian, whatever, really doesn't matter. Yeah, it's true. I know Dinesh D'Souza is by family Indian. Okay, fine, that's cool. I'm okay with that. It's pretty obvious that that Dan Bongino is Italian, at least by name, right? But again, who cares? What does it matter? Dan, when I first saw him, I looked at him and I thought, is this a black guy? I don't really care. I was just wondering. It was just a curiosity for me. It wasn't really anything more than that. And this is what I'm trying to get across to you. When you talk about somebody like Rush Limbaugh or I'm trying to think of his name. Excuse me, Thomas Sowell. Right? When you talk about Thomas Sowell, I wonder how many people have no idea, who've never seen him, have no idea that he's black. I wonder how many people never considered that it's almost certain that Milton Friedman was a Jew. Was a Jew, I say was because he's passed, and for no other reason. My point is this. You sit there and you talk about race like it's such an important thing. I'm here to tell you there are people in the modern day who transcend race, who transcend so many aspects or facets of who they are as a person in the sort of physical sense of themselves. And it's time for people to begin to understand that that transcendence probably shouldn't be reserved for the famous if they don't already recognize it. In my mind, I don't really care where your family is from. Who are you? Who are you? This is what's important. This is what I want to know and understand. And I hope that the same is true for you when you're looking at someone like me. Again, I ain't famous. I don't have to be famous to transcend these labels that people want to put on me or others. I don't have to do that. I don't have to be famous. I'll say it again. There are people who have helped in the process. Jackie Robinson is an excellent example of that. Jesse Owens, excellent example of that. Jesse stuck it to some people who thought that they were going to show their superiority. Yeah, right. That worked out real well for him, didn't it? And let me just tell you something. I'm not proud of Jesse because I don't do pride. But if you ask me, do I consider Mr. Owens, whose name was actually J.C. Owens, I guess, and I forget what that stood for, and his coach got his name wrong, however you want to look at that. Anyway, the point is, if you think that I care what color he was, the important thing to know about him was, just like Usain Bolt in later days, and still probably today, I don't know how that works because I'm not sure if he's still doing his thing, but these people transcended what anything else that they could have been and became awesome individuals that people looked at. Jim Thorpe, another excellent example. Who was Jim Thorpe? Look him up. Look him up. Why did the Indians get the name that they got? Why did the Redskins get the name that they got? Look them up. Look it up. And you're going to find that these people are being cast or couched as having culturally insensitive names. And you need to understand that they were actually lots of times done in deference to the individuals about whom they were speaking, not against them at all. As Terrence, I forget his last name, but the comedian who does Cousin T's Pancakes pointed out, look, when you take Aunt Jemima off the label, when you take Uncle Ben off the label, you're actually taking successful black people off the label. I don't care that they're black. They were successful. They managed something amazing, and that's why they got there. All right, I need to go ahead and wrap things up. This, again, is one of those subjects I could talk on for a long period of time. But just remember that there are people out there who, what they are, their fame has transcended anything else that you might know about them, whether you think so or not. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I am Kurt, I am your host, and today is Tuesday, the 1st of February of 2022, into that second month of the year. Tomorrow will be Wednesday, the 2nd of February of 2022. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page, on Minds.com, M-I-N-D-S, on Parler, on all of the different platforms that you can find me on, including locals.com and others. I hope that you have enjoyed what I put out there today. Remember that if you're catching me on Rumble, you can give me a boxing glove or a Rumble if you choose to do that. You can also give me a plus or minus on Rumble. That would be a positive or negative feedback. Obviously, you have to give me what you think is the right thing, and you can do that on other platforms if you choose to do so as well. So like on YouTube, it's a like or a dislike, thumbs up, thumbs down. Wherever you happen to see me, you can do that. And on lots of platforms, you're able to comment on what I put out there, the content that I put on the web, and by all means, if you choose to do that, do so, and I will do my best to pay attention to what you've said, and that includes potentially responding if I think that that's an appropriate thing to do. The subject for today has been Transcendent fame, and tomorrow we're going to talk on the subject of tax deductible, and I think I have maybe a little bit of an odd perspective on that by comparison to what a lot of particularly Christians seem to count appropriate where that's concerned. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and I hope that I will see you again on Wednesday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was recorded on Tuesday, February 1st of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.